Paco Balderama. I've been with the police department. It'll be 18 years in January. I know I don't look a day over 39, but I am. Today I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things, but I'd like to start off with a question that was posed by this organization: is how are the children doing? And that's what we're here to try to assess. How are the children doing? Well, that's a difficult question to answer. But I have to ask you, whose children are you talking about? Because mine are doing very well. Mine have a mom and a dad. We love them. We're affectionate with them. We have a nice home. They go to a great school. Well, my daughter does. She goes to school. The boys don't go to school yet. They get food. They have people who love them. They have a pretty good life, I would say. So I would say that my children are doing very well. We go to church. We read with our kids. We pray with our kids, but not every kid in the inner city is like that. That's not the situation or the circumstances for every kid. We know that. We also know that a lot of these kids end up going through my system, which is the Oklahoma City Police Department, or OJA, which Steve Buck's about to talk about here in a little bit. But I just want to kind of draw a couple of scenarios here. If you have a child, and that child is getting certain things from his environment. So that child, part of his environment is the family. The family's going to give him love, security, culture, morals. So they're getting that from their family, or they should be. And then you have something else. You have the church. The church is going to, obviously spirituality, a relationship with God, support system, an additional support system. And then you have school or education. That kid is going to, number one, have love and safety, which are very, very important. Shelter and food, also very important, obviously. So that kid in this environment is probably going to flourish. Probably going to flourish. Either way, they have a pretty good chance of flourishing because of this support system that they have. Now keep in mind that other entities, like the police, aren't really a factor in this situation. They may see a police officer at the supermarket, whatever. He may say hi, the police officer say hi, pass him a sticker, whatever. So it's pretty positive all the way around. So now you consider a little bit different scenario. Same kid, different environment. So the family's out here because mom is addicted to crack. And she's not around. She's either in rehab or selling her body on the streets, and she's just not there. She's not a good mom because of her addiction, and she's not around. Dad's in prison, or the kid doesn't know dad, so dad is out of the picture. So this kid may have a grandmother, an aunt, somebody that's watching over the kid, but really not an environment where they're getting that love and security. As a matter of fact, it's a lack of security because they don't know where they're going to live, they don't know where they're going to get their meal, whatever. The church, the local church, may be there, but for whatever reason, the kid doesn't go to school or to church, and the church doesn't come out to where the kid lives because there's no connection there. So the church is really not an influential factor in this particular kid. So you have school, because he goes to school a couple of days a week, 3 days a week, but school's not a major influence because this kid's worried about this, the lack of this. The kid without safety or security, love, school, learning, education is going to be very, very low priority for most kids. So in addition to this, now you have the police, which, unlike the first scenario, are an influential factor in this kid, either positively or negatively. This kid may attend a mentoring program that the police is involved with, so it's a positive experience, or this kid might get arrested for smoking marijuana, whatever. So then they have an interaction with the police, which is negative. In the meantime, instead of family, they have the streets. And in the streets, you have the drug dealer, the pimp, the gang member, and all these people are pouring into this child. Now, the problem with a lot of us is that we tend to be a little bit judgmental about people's decisions. And we just assume that this kid should be, well, you go to school, right? You go to school, why don't you just learn? Why don't you just make the right choices? Why don't you this? Why don't you that? But I mean, realistically, this is not an even playing field. This other kid, the first kid, may be less talented, but is probably going to be more successful than this child because of the circumstances, because of the environment, because of the lack of love, the lack of morals, the lack of mentoring. I mean, that's just what I've seen. Now, let me give you another scenario, which is the environment that I grew up in. Now I'm going to draw two little stick figures because I have a twin brother. And, you know, don't have a dad. Never met my dad. Dad's never been around. But I have a mom, very strong mom, very faithful mom, who always gave us love, always gave us attention, always disciplined us, taught us right from wrong, made us go to church. We were involved with the family. Pretty good environment. Okay? Now, before I go to my next area, we also lived in the projects for 10 years. You know, a place called Sandoval, which is a housing projects in West El Paso. Great place to live. My mom's extremely clean. She also wouldn't let us hang out with the little gang members in the neighborhood. I mean, we literally could not go outside and hang out with them. And I would always say, Mom, why can't we do that? She said, well, you play with your brother. That's why I had two of y'all. So you'll always have someone to play with. So it made sense to me. So we didn't have the negative influences. And my childhood was, I'm very fond of my childhood. Very happy memories. Because we had food, we had shelter, we had love. What more do you need? You know, we had a couple He-Mans and G.I. Joes. We're good to go. And then we had the church. And then we had education. My mother always, you know, English is my second language too. Didn't speak English until I turned 5 and started going to school. But although she wouldn't understand, you know, some of the homework, she went off of penmanship. Okay, so if it didn't look neat, it got tore up. And I'm serious. It didn't matter how long it was. If it didn't look nice, it got tore up. Do it again. You don't do it right. Do it again. She'd go check our beds, and we had little twin mattresses. And if we didn't make our bed right, she'd just come to the one edge and she'd just flip the mattress over. You know, we'd do it again. So very quickly we learned those standards, very high standards. You know, on Saturday mornings she would clean the house, and we would try to help. Mom, we want to help you. No, don't help me. You guys don't know how to clean. You're not going to do it right. Don't help me. No, we really want to help. Okay, but if you're going to do something, you do it right the first time. You do it right the first time. And oddly, that became the standard for both my brother and I. You know, we're extremely hard workers because of her. We're very meticulous because of her. You know, attention to detail is very, very important because of her. I know how to sew because of her. I can cook a heck of an egg omelet because of her. And you know, the two latter things, she didn't sit us down and actually, I just watched her. A lot of people are surprised by this. I iron all my shirts, all my slacks. I iron all my shirts and my slacks for my kids, you know, when they go to school. And I remember getting a phone call on Sunday afternoon, and it was the chief of police. It was my boss, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just ironing my clothes and my kids' clothes." Said, You're ironing? I said, "Yeah." So I said, "I do this every Sunday. I iron my kids' clothes." Why? Well, so they won't go to school with wrinkled clothes. I mean, just duh, you know. And he's like, and he just kind of, you know, stayed quiet for a little bit. But I mean, those are just the standards that we learned. So although our situation was not ideal, although we had no money, although we, you know, lived in the projects, although we didn't have a dad, you know, we had other things that were core to our development. So this leveled the playing field. So you give a kid love, education, structure, safety, and say that kid has average to maybe above average talent, and they may be able to rise to a pretty high level. But you put that same kid in that other situation, and it's not going to be the same thing. So, you know, how are the children doing? Inner city kids are not doing very well because they have more to deal with now, I believe, than they ever did. I believe they have more negativity in their environment. I believe they're overstimulated with negative things. And when you don't have that role model to say, hey, I know we just watched a movie and they were blowing things up, but you know that's just pretend, right? You know that's just, you don't really do that. You have nobody telling them that. So then there's no consequences. So then they have other issues, and Steve's going to talk about some of these other issues, but there's a lot of problems. Now, going to what I do in the police department, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to do a lot more community policing, which in the 20s through the 50s, it was your beat officer who walked the streets, would have a couple of blocks, would engage with the community, would engage with the business owners. They would get to know people, and people would get to know him or her. And it was great because there was communication, there was trust, there was information sharing, and it made it for a very positive environment. So in a city like Oklahoma City, where you have over 600 square miles to cover, and really only approximately 500 officers on the streets, you really can't do that. Okay, on paper we have 1,200, but there's only 500 actual officers in uniform on the streets. Okay, you divide that up by 4 different divisions and 3 different shifts. Right now there's probably only 50 cops working in the entire city. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So that one-on-one engagement is non-existent. We attend town hall meetings. We do stuff with the Police Athletic League. We do a lot of community engagement, and that's where we get that one-on-one time. But we don't get it on our everyday work day because we're usually call to call. And that call may be halfway across town. So you got to hurry up and get this done so we can go respond to that call. And that's just the reality of our situation. So as far as what is the most pressing issue today in time? And in my opinion, you know, I could easily say, well, drugs, significant gangs, or you know, constant menace in our society, especially in the inner city. Crime is actually constant, but some violent crime is up. I don't know how you put this, but you know, the sex is just rampant in everything that children are exposed to. I mean, kids are saying things to each other in junior high that I had no clue what it was when I was 25. You know, and you see it in movies, you see it in commercials, you see it in cartoons. I believe that's an issue. The lack of education is a big issue. But the biggest one, in my opinion, is the breakdown of the family, the breakdown of the family unit. And it doesn't have to be a mom or dad. That family unit can be, you can make that up however. It may be, you know, an uncle and an aunt, but it's the breakdown of the family unit. That environment where they can feel loved, secure, flourish. Bad situation perhaps, but things are better. You have a church family. You have people that come over, you engage, and it's an environment where a child can flourish. And you know, this section is called the prosperous and the just. But keep in mind that justice is very, very simple and plain, especially when it's written in the books, in the state statute. You commit this, it's either misdemeanor or felony, and here's a sentence for it. Okay? It's very simple. If you commit a crime, the police are going to find you, they're going to gather all the evidence, they're going to present it to the district attorney's office, they're going to file or not file, and then you should get this. You should get this many years in prison. That's justice. You do this, you get this. When I was asked to pick a virtue, I chose compassion very quickly and very easily. Because what we're starting to do right now in social reform and criminal justice reform is apply compassion. Because of the two scenarios that I showed you earlier. You give me a kid from a bad neighborhood with no parents, with no safety, with no love, with negative environment, with negative role models, and I expect something good? Is that compassion? To hold them to the same standards as a thriving child? Hey, you know better, and you chose to make a mistake, therefore you get this. Maybe they don't know any better. Now, I'm not advocating that certain individuals commit certain crimes that there's just there's no other alternative. They have to be removed from society because they're a threat to that society. They're a danger to other people around them. There's certain situations like that. But to throw the book at a kid for stealing an Xbox game, because that's his only avenue of release, is to just get on a video game and play for a few hours, because their life is so negative, I don't think is the best thing for our community. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to involve, and we have for years, we have something called the Police Athletic League. It's been around for almost 30 years. We've had literally hundreds of thousands of kids go through that program. I coached that for 6 years. It was great. Okay, that's a good thing the police is doing. We used to have the DARE program. That's no longer around, but Scheidler was one of my schools. I used to teach 18 classes in a given week. I loved it. 5th graders, it was great. Most of my speaking skills, quite frankly, I got them from DARE. You want to talk about a tough audience? 5th graders, okay? So they're like they have the attention span of a gnat. They're like my kids. And yeah, we have that program. We have the FACT program, which is gang prevention intervention. We have the cadet program, which I supervise. We're extremely proud of that. These are inner city kids who want to be police officers. They go to Metro Tech, they get all this training, and then we give them first dibs on being police officers. What great of a concept. Take inner city kids who are from that community, make them police officers to go back and serve their own community. And we have 500 kids that apply for 50 positions. I didn't think we'd get that many. I'm like, people want to do this job? Yeah. But my point is it really our job? We're going to do it, and we're going to continue to do it because it's very important. But should it be the police department's job to take on all these social programs? Okay? And I say that not because I believe we should, personally, and we're going to continue doing them, but shouldn't other people be doing them too? Should the church? Should the nonprofits? You can't throw a rock in the city and not hit either a nonprofit or a church. Can't do it. You'll hit one, maybe two, if the rock bounce is good enough. So, I believe we're in a very unique time period, like none I've ever seen, socially. And I believe our country and our community are very much ready for a change in the way we do things, because over-policing and putting everybody in jail is not really making a difference. When I was a brand new officer in 1999, I rode 10th and Western area, which is very busy, still is, and the downtown area. So Bricktown and downtown was my patrol area. And not so much here because urban development has changed. Midtown is very, very busy now. Downtown is flourishing. I mean, I remember when officers, because of a lack of a restroom, we used to go to Bricktown, a bunch of trees back there, and that was like a little bathroom hole. That's where we peed. I don't think I ever told anybody that, especially on camera, but it was. There was nothing down there. Someone's got to see you. You got to have a victim and have a crime. So yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, where are you going to go? So, but look at it now. I mean, it is just flourishing completely, and so is downtown, and so it's completely turned. But in the 6.5 years that I patrolled the 10th and Western area, man, my rookie year, I had 50 felonies and 250 misdemeanors, my rookie year. 300 arrests. I remember going to jail 3 times in one night. I remember going a block from the jail and getting somebody with possession of crack. A block from the jail. I just left, and I came right back. The guys were like, did you forget something? No, man, I got somebody with some dope. And in those 6.5 years, after I matured, learned, got experience, I looked around, I said, you know what? I haven't made a heck of a difference in this community. Not a heck of a difference. We have a SAFE grant that we're very fortunate to get through the state. It's called SAFE grant appropriately. But what we do is we we get a geographic map of the community, and then we find where all the red dots are. Those are violent felony crimes, and we're like, whoa, look at this hot spot right here. In the last 6 months, this area is just, a lot of crime there. So then we develop a little plan, we kind of make some boundaries, and this is where we're going to use the SAFE grant money. So we pay police officers to come in on their days off and work that area. And we have a great deal of success, to the tune of 42% decrease in violent crime in that area. That's results. Okay, we are the world's best at putting people to jail. Here's the problem. What happens after that? What happens after that? Those people get out of jail. Okay, only 5% of the people that are arrested for felony crimes ever go see the inside of a prison cell. So 95% of them are going to get out. So then what happens now? You got a 15-year-old kid who got a felony crime because they, stole, burglarized a house, and they go to jail, they get out, they go through the system, they have fines, they have warrants, they can't pay those, they can't get a job, they don't finish high school. They don't move to Kansas City, they stay here. So then multiply that by a few hundred times in one community. So short term, the crime rate drops. Long term, it doesn't do anything for that community. That's why you need compassion. That's why you need alternative programs. That's why you see that kid, and we want officers to have that discretion to say, you know what, you stole a video game, but we're going to take it back, and I'm going to refer you to a program where you're going to get mentored, because that's what you need. I'm going to take you home. We're going to sign you up right now. That decision, that discretion could change that kid's life. Because I stole some things when I was 10. None of us are saints. Compassion. Compassion. So I love that we're doing this. I love what SALT is doing. I love this organization. I love this conference. I love everybody in this room, because I know that you guys have other things to do, and you're checking your emails just like I have been all day and sending emails because life goes on. But yet, this is important enough to make time for this today, because I believe we see the vision, and we see the possibilities, and we see the future, and we think, you know what? Maybe there's something missing. Maybe we took the wolves out of Yellowstone. Maybe we got to bring some wolves back. So that's all that I have. Thank you very much.